Welcome back to EU5, episode number 28. Even though none of the criteria were met to trigger the event triggered nonetheless. Maybe it's a default event that every nation's going to have. That seems an odd one for everyone to suddenly have it. But we've entered the age of absolutism, and as we enter it, we instantly trigger this major event, or at least like in 2 months it triggered. Court and country. This we can consider a civil war of epic proportions, and it very well could trigger a civil war. And the timing, of course, is terrible, as it came with a giant negative stability cost at the same time. To get out of it, let's go with get out of it first. At minimum, it's a 10-year event. So it's October of 1637. The earliest we can get out of this event is 1647. At most, it's a 20-year event, because we also need to have the 10 years tick by and then at least one of these things below it. One of those would be 20 years ticking by. So if we haven't met the requirements to get out of it by 20 years, it'll end. So minimum 10, maximum 20. Now, what else can we do to trigger it, to get it to the minimum age? Well, we would need all of these things or all of these other things. So we need the Crown Estate to be 60% or higher for a state power. We currently have 31, 32. We've got a ways to go for that one to happen. We have less or equal to 11 estate privileges granted. Now that is something we could definitely do to minimize. However, I mean, if we look at the estates, we're looking at 3, 6, 11 right there. We would need to get rid of 10. So we have 21. We'd need to bring that down to 10. We're at 42% actually. So we're further along on that process than I thought. And by doing away with those, you could actually get there. But we're talking about a major stability problem in the short term. Getting back on this one, we would have to have less than minus 80 absolutism versus liberalism. We are currently plus 20 towards absolutism. So we would have to really, really push to liberalism and get away from absolutism, which is giving us an extra 20% crown power. So actually, this event has triggered us into heavy crown power from what we had. Major bonus for it, but coming at the cost of the estates being crazy upset. But we'll get back to that in a second. Or the other all of these is making the estates happy. Everybody at 65%, all 4 of them at 65% or better, while having at least a 50 absolutism, which we're at 20 right now. We can only push towards 9.51 right now, meaning we need to get control while having the estates happy, or we need to have lots of power and no strength in the estates while not being absolutist, which we are moving towards absolutism right now by a fair margin. We would have to move away, meaning right now it looks damn near impossible, because I can't see us gaining the power and reducing the privileges while not having an absolutism score, because the absolutism pushes us towards power. You push away from power to have that happen. I mean, we'd really have to get rid of all the privileges. It would be kind of the big thing. Get rid of all the privileges and yet somehow still keep the estates happy, meaning we wouldn't be taxing them really at all, and that's going to be one of the keys here in a little bit. So right now we're looking at likely a 20-year disaster. I don't see how I'm going to achieve either of those things. Now, the main thing that it's doing is Pop Join Rebels threshold is up 10%. So it's more likely for Pops to join Rebels, meaning a rebellion is going to be larger but also the equilibrium of the estates is down 25%. Now, we were keeping it just above 50. So all of a sudden, we just triggered this horrible, nasty event. The commoners are at 50, but their equilibrium just dropped by 25%, down to 25. And so we would lose 1.89% per month to get down to that equilibrium. Burgers, same thing. It's already just below the 50 mark, and their equilibrium at 26. It's down to 40 for the clergy right now, at 61. And the nobility is already down to a 41 with their equilibrium at 20. So how they got doubly negative somehow in there, I'm not sure. Taking on a new flag, Kingdom of Portugal here, as we've somehow jumped into this new age and new scenario. But this is tricky. Now, the first thing is we've got to take care of the equilibrium. Otherwise, we are going to have rebellions and damn near the entire nation rebelling against us. So we need to just take away all taxes. For the nobility, that still only gets me to 29%. I think I might be able to do more with the others. Yes, we can. The burghers, we can get them. And we can get the commoners. Okay, let's set about a 52. We're going to make a lot less money here. A lot less. But there's nothing I can do about the clergy or the nobility right now. Stability, though. Stability did just take a huge hit. So as it comes up, these equilibriums will rise. So at least we have the burghers and the commoners under control. And they're much larger population bases. The nobility and the clergy are a much smaller group, though the nobility can afford really good troops. Which means we need to get our army taken care of. We need to get them back. But we have a couple problems. One, supposedly, we have a siege still going on here. So before anything else happens, let's bring these guys on down just in case and take care of it. We are still somehow suffering attrition, but we now own all this land. There will be food. There will be food coming soon enough. But we can't leave our forces down there for very long. However, our navy, has it made progress? No. We're still at nothing. We're at port without repairs. We have food. Now I assume we have fleet basing rights already. And it says ask them to dock our ships in their ports, enabling us to use them to repair it. For whatever reason, it's not repairing our navy. Now, is that because here we are, there's no cannon. There is no cannon in the lower Pinda market. So we need to make sure that there is cannon. Maybe that's something that I can help with while leaving the navy here temporarily. We have burghers. We need a cannon maker. There we go. We will build that right on here in Lower Pinda. What else? We have a town right there. Let's build one there as well. With cannon, we should get those ships repaired and then be able to bring them back down and be able to get this army. Now, with the war over, we should get food. Okay, we are no longer taking attrition. Nobility is still upset, but at least it's the 30% instead of a 20%. Burghers are going to be back above 50 in a second. Okay, we're not losing money, and we actually have plenty of money. So, A, we can afford to spend a little bit more and build out the economy some, help us make more money. And as the stability rises, we'll be able to get our two out of controls in control. But we can't, well, actually as it rises, we'll be able to start taxing the commoners and the burghers more. So we'll be fine profit-wise. We're also spending a lot on education of all the children. We could always turn that down, but again, we have a positive balance, so it's fine. This is a weather the storm. This is tied to the court and country. Negative events are going to make it problematic. Like, we're dealing with what they're throwing at us, but then they're going to throw more at us, and that's where we're going to have a real problem on our hands. We will meet them with sword in hand. This is the nobility giving us an issue. Their insurgency gains 5% progress, and those that support the rebellion are 5% even less. happy than they already are, and we would push towards absolutism, or we could push towards liberalism. Stop 10% progress. I have no idea where they're at. I'm guessing they're not very far right now, but let's make the push towards the liberalism. Promise of safe passage. Somebody who died 233 years ago. A group of so-called reforming monks has recently appeared at our court under the most solemn premise of safe passage so that they might argue the justness of their cause. Like Dr. Jan Hus before them, their heresy is manifest, but our world has been given. We can gain prestige, and what is this? Oh, a bunch of people become... No, that's heretics. We'll take 2.5% legitimacy. Thank you very much. Hey, this is our new market. France is there. We are now the most powerful player there. Somalia is also there. So that's making some money. There's some research done. Pop conversion speed. Expected cost of court is a good thing right now. So you're starting to take off. 25 ducats in trade. My area's at 6.5. A lot of markets. A lot of money in there. Our army is mostly restored. We are still missing cannon and liquor. Let's go deal with the liquor part. That's a distiller's guild, which isn't going to make any money, but we're going to build one anyway. Looking at the rebellion situation, we have two that are pretty close, but they're both New World, tiny, small groups. I mean, we're looking at, well, the increased pop thing has impacted this. Now we're looking at 22,000 instead of 7,000. That's a huge difference from where we were, and it's making it accelerate. This one's only 3,000 though, and even with 22k, with the regular army plus just localized levies, we can still deal with it easily enough. The one we're going to have to watch out for, as we now have 3 estates happy. Well, clergy is not going to stay happy though. The nobility is the concern, right? They're already below 40% and trending down towards 30 now. At least it's up from the 29 it was. The nobility is the one we're going to have to watch out for. But Lisboa is suddenly making 200 ducats in trade, as we've been pouring so many buildings into it. We do have our 2 non-integrated provinces. Let's go ahead and stop with Granada and switch them up to integration. Iboina's larger. We'll go ahead and start with that one. Okay, we have a colony done. Integration's going pretty quick, by the way. 1 tick and we got 0.72%. Portugal. So we've been cut off. We got cut off by the Ottomans, even though we were trying to cut them off. We got way ahead of them, and they just flew right on through there. I don't know how they're gaining, like, feels like they're gaining 1,000 a month, the rate they're going, or 300, 400 compared to our 109, 110 that we have. So we have a scientific revolution. Remember, we just entered a new age. So the institution has appeared in Kiev. We're going to need to try to set up some sort of trade there. Oh, nice. Our next government reform's coming really soon. We only have a single thing. We'll get in the queue here fairly soon and check on the new institutions where they spawn. I think one in Paris and one in Kiev. I don't think the third one's spawned yet, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll check on all that soon. Alright, well, knowing that the Ottomans are still coming, they can absolutely come in this way. So we're going to colonize. We could fill the other 2 in later. Oh, I already see green right here. There's green right there. Oh my gosh. They are flying in here and stealing our land. We do have Rio growing quickly, just pretty much over the course of that war that we had. We've seen it grow from, what, 2,500, 2,700 to 3,900. So it will get to its 5K relatively soon, and we'll be able to turn that into a town. Okay, we also do have spy networks ready to go and plenty of diplomats, so we can steal maps. Newfoundland? Oh, Acadia and Newfoundland, they're both here. Let's go ahead and get Newfoundland. Okay, our ships repairing slowly thing happened. It went away momentarily and then came back. So are we making progress? Yes, we are making progress. Finally, we're at a minimum 12% where we were at 4. But it's going to take a while to get these guys fully recovered. We don't necessarily need to be fully recovered. In fact, we're only going to need to have enough to move the troops, right? There's 9K. We'll need enough ships for 9K as we finish our discovery of Maryland. We only have one going on right now. I don't need multiples, though. In fact, right now, I think I'd rather have the money. We can steal maps. We'll keep at least one exploration active, but we don't need to have a bunch. We got a university event. Shoot. I don't want to make the clergy unhappy right now. We're going to take the 10%. What's the student protest going to do? Unrest everywhere? Like, unrest where? Student protests? It just center aim. Just center aim. You know what? They're going to be okay. I think they're going to be okay. Let's take the happiness of the clergy right now. I can't afford 20% loss. Actually, you know, honestly, I could. Honestly, I could. Here's why. 20% loss is going to drop them down to a 23, which is freaking awful. The equilibrium's 27. It's just going to put them there, here and now. It's going to drop them down right away. So, we're going to take it. We're going to take it. We've taken it before, but there's your rebellious estates. Alright, let's steal maps again from Aragon, and now getting the Acadia region here. They are independent. They've been let go. They are no longer part of England. Paraguay, let's go ahead and take that one. Peeling back that way. And this, I'm guessing, is another Ottoman. They have a second colonial subject already. Shockling's only direction to go is this way. And it looks like they are colonizing, but they are colonizing slower than the Ottomans. So that's going to give us a chance to actually cut them off. Yeah, here we go. Next negative event already. This is coming fast. We're 1 year. 1 year in, we've already had 2 negative events for this. Besides it happening in the first place when there was no reason for it. Like I said, none of the... Okay, one of our Brazil states, or the specific province, I think we could do the arrest the leaders and push towards the centralization. Yeah, because it's one single province and or state. So we'll do the arrest the leaders. Okay, equilibrium for the burghers and commoners has climbed a little bit higher as we've increased that stability. Get a single uptick on both. We're back to 57 ducats. It's definitely not nothing. I did say that we can afford to spend, and now that I'm seeing we're not getting hit too hard, too fast with too many events, we can go ahead and spend, of course, on Lisboa. Market Village Insettable. Gain 62. Helobaka would gain 50. Coastal Fort, that's a local maritime presence bonus. That's enough for now. That's enough for now. We need to hang on to some of this money as this Scylla disaster kind of plays out. We're 1 year of right now what feels like it's gonna definitely be 20. Climbing up, I just wish it wasn't an automatic kind of thing, as we have there's the possible government reform. Here's that moment we were waiting on. So a couple things can happen here. So I'm going to pause. We could add a government reform. That's the first thing. We now have 5. This can increase our crown power. The nobility's already been dropped down to 29. The others are already low enough. We could start revoking those, but you've got to have stability for it. And right now, with the disaster and the 25% thing, we can't do anything until the end of it, which means I think we've got to let the 20 years play out. But for the moment, we can increase crown power, lower the stability hit on these others, and set ourselves up long term to be able to actually succeed at revoking these privileges. I mean, we've done 1 so far, but let's add power. We want something that's going to increase crown power or drastically increase the satisfaction and equilibrium of the others. Definitely don't need this, though. The trade maritime advantage, I could see that being pretty beneficial, but the rest of that's not. Food production's not necessary. Don't care about the espionage enough. Pop conversion speed is nice, but it's not that important. Tax efficiency so far is the best we have. Literacy is definitely good for research. Loyalty of subjects is nice. Right now, none of them like us. With the current state of things, they are very much not happy. Transportation code, oh, that's pretty good. And trade range, wow. But that's all just culture capacity is not important enough. Legitimacy is not important enough. Don't want to give power, so the local army, the peasants levy, no thanks. Legislative efficiency, parliament base support, and a move towards plutocracy. That's one of my favorite two so far. Don't care about the garrisons. Don't care about the colonial range. Don't care about hiring mercs. Diplo capacity, no big deal. Mining communities is decent, but no, it's tax for the clergy. Logistics, distance. Okay, logistics as in getting your how far away you can get while still having supply and whatnot. Siegeability, I like that. Tax efficiency, cultural tradition. Monthly research progress 5%. And literacy. And max literacy. That's my new favorite. That is my new favorite. We might go that direction. Make the noble estates happy and loyalty of subjects, though. But move towards traditional economy, which I'd love to get away from eventually. Efficiency of the cabinet. Move towards centralization. I think we're going to go with the School of First Letters. Monthly research progress 5%. Literacy and max literacy have some really positive events, and the more we have the tech, the more we outplay everybody else around us. School of First Letters. In the meantime, research. And no, I'm not doing our parliament right now, just with everything going on. There's usually knock-on effects that make your estates unhappy. I don't want to deal with it. Am I getting a penalty for not having this? Possibly. Okay, manufactories has not spawned as an institution yet. There's a 26% chance that it'll appear each month, which means it's going to happen soon. We are not near the top of the list on where it's going to spawn, so that is what it is. It's going to be around when it gets around. With Kyiv, can also spawn in additional locations over time. Paris can also spawn. We're the next one on that list. So apparently the military revolution could have spawned right there in our home. Fast could have spawned there as well. So a bit unlucky that it spawned in Paris and not could have spawned in Lisboa and not in Paris where it did. Anyway, it's going to be a little while before those spread. The Paris one, though, is close. It shouldn't take too long. As soon as it starts to spread to their coastline, we'll look to get some trades done and make that happen, or maybe we'll just forcibly get a trade with France going here at some point. We do have Bruges happening, so we might be able to get access to it early enough. Right now, I'm not concerned with that. Let's go ahead and get into the advances, though, and see where we're at. So, Age of Absolutism, nothing's ready, but we do have our Age of Reformation. We did start going through and did our first kind of handful of research projects there, but with the extra 5%, the School of First Letters, it's brought us up to a 1.93. The clergy estate satisfaction is actually just killing us right now, as they are super unhappy. Instead of gaining 12%, we're losing 12%, so it's about a 25% swing, give or take there. Which means I think we need to maybe go through. Our Age of Traditions is 100% done. So let's make another wave of Second Age research projects. We have a whole tree down here. One left there. A few left here. One left there. One here. A few left there and one remaining there. It's not much. It's not much to clean that up. Navy repair costs could actually help us in our current state of things, so we're going to take that one. Coastal Fort, The one I still haven't unlocked, local maritime presence, is a positive, so we want the coastal fort. Change policy cost 10% drop. Parliament request issue support needed minus 5%, meaning it'll pass at 45. And we move towards innovative and free subjects. That actually might be a good thing right there. Is the theater. How's that going to help us? Cultural tradition. Unrest. I certainly like that right now. And an art school. Okay, this whole tree is going to be kind of the bulk of what we pull out of this one. And then I think we're kind of done. Age 2, eventually we'll clean up the last of them, but the last of them, none of them are. We're not short cannons anymore. That cannon maker's still, I think I might have made more than one accidentally, but the Distillers Guild is near looking 100%, 100%, 100%, 90. The lower ones were still at 60%. We could carry 13,000 troops if I only need to carry 9,000. So if we split things off a little, 9,200, there we go. If we take this smaller unit that's at 77% plus, I think we can go pick up our army and bring it right back to this location. There we go, it's back. How we doing? 77 is the worst of what's here, meaning it'll easily get back. There we go, Manufactories has spawned in Leipzig. There we go. Okay, we have made it back. Let's restore our Navy to a complete unit. 75 is the minimum. They got back a lot faster. Okay, sweet. That's good. That's good. These guys took a little attrition, 100, but they'll recover that. Oh, they won't recover that where we're at, actually. Texas discovered. And one of our kids is gifted. Wow, Bedice, huge. Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and maybe then some. All right, our crown prince, who is now the heir, firstborn son. The oldest sister would be next in line, even though she is quite a bit older than him. So we definitely need to switch him to the expensive education. Tunisia and the Ottomans are at war with each other. It actually makes it all the more desirable to do something here, but we're not going to. Liquor continues to be the problem down here. The cannon situation is taken care of. There's not enough liquor, but we have been making slow repairs. Now it's halted, at least temporarily, and we're 85%. We're at 85%. I think that's enough. Now, of course, they're going to get what they need at home much faster. Much, much faster. And there we go. They are back. The worst of them at just 75%. So we made it without losing all those ships. Once they do get repaired, we will get them restored. We got another map from Castile. Not sure how we're getting these, but happy to have them. 10% increase on colonial migration for the next 5 years. Very happy to have that as we continue colonizing. Stability, still negative, but it's down to a -10. And it might be time here to check in again. We are now at 2 years into our, what I can only assume will be a 20-year disaster. I don't see us getting out of this here anytime soon. Yeah, equilibrium, we could push that up a little bit. Take another tick on those, and we're now at 41 and 35-ish. So we're climbing up from 28. It was down as low as, what, 22, 21? Stability's almost caught up to the equilibrium, and it's basically just following the rise of stability right now. Let me check in now after 2 years on how rebels are looking. Okay, these guys have stopped, and their group's down to under 7K. These guys haven't stopped, but there's barely any of them, and it's only at 75%, and it has slowed. There's the nobility. They are at 25% and rising, but there's only 13,000 of them. But at 234 locations, is the clergy are at 10%. 30,000 of them. Meaning I think I could deal with either group. The Umbongo colony is done. That's here. I feel like I should turn this all into a colonial subject. But we're actively integrating. You know what? I'm going to keep that one. It's integrated land, or going to be integrated land. So something a little different for us. Another smaller area to control, handle, deal with, learn from. Now we don't need to add a fifth. So we can, there's a little more inland stuff here, but France has already mostly got us cut off. I'm just going to let them cut us off. That's enough territory there. We have a foothold into it if we ever get strong enough. I doubt we will in this playthrough at 1640, but if we ever do get strong enough to take on France, we have a foothold, and it would be really easy to take that land because you just need to bring an army down. First letters, still working on it, 77%. And here's the next negative event for this stupid thing. The attempts to unify legal traditions, taxes, blah, blah, blah. Clergy insurgents. Okay, it's the same event we had before. Bermuda loses 10% control, and we move towards liberalism. I think that's pretty easy. Societal values. However, if we move towards absolutism, which gives us more control, we're only at a 15 right now. This would bump us back to a 20 where we were when we started, which would increase our revenue stream. Clergy insurgents do get a little bit unhappy with 5% progress, but they were only at, what was it, 10? And, oh no, Bermuda a little bit unhappy? Yeah, I don't care about Bermuda being unhappy. Let's take the absolutism. Tlaxcala. This is another region here revealed somehow. I don't know how we're getting all these maps from. They're gonna finish off Le Vras, but if we can kind of get everything around it, these 4 areas, and then eventually go back in and fill in those too. But Granada. All right, back to 5. With 1, 2, 3, 4 of them being just right here, rushing against the Ottomans. Aragon doesn't have any maps for us to steal. There's technology. Oh, okay. We have to finish the current research that we're on, and then we can steal a certain amount of tech off of Aragon. So after our next research project finishes. There we go. Research done. Coastal fort. Now I think I can get in there and steal fort in disrepair for 10 years or lose army tradition. We don't have a lot of army tradition, but nobody's attacking. I had no idea that it was this huge. Yeah, we're never going to eclipse Castile in this playthrough. We are very much the number 2 colonizer. Okay, steel tech. 4.84. We just stole 5 tech from Aragon, and actually even they lost a little bit, so speeding up our technology gains here. Now I do have some money, and what I want to do with this area, we have a market here that it falls into, and there's already a decent amount of trade. Some of this was already built up fairly well, so there's good things happening. What I need to do is make sure that this market has not the control, but has the goods to launch explorations to the Indian Ocean and South Pacific. Don't have the pops here, the burgers. This was the capital. Let me check the others. The other location, that's a town, Boeni. They are also short on the pops side. There's another region, Henday. Not a Henday, that's the Mexico region there. Probably one of those 2 coastal ones that we're still missing, potentially anyway. Building a cathedral in Boeti will help with conversion locally, so we definitely want that. And here we go again. Our next negative event, we do have a positive stability finally at 3. We can arrest the leaders, push towards centralization, and it's boys again, making them upset. I'm okay with them being upset. We don't need to move towards decentralization and make them happy. It's one province, and that's the thing I love about that particular event. It's not a national impact, it's a localized impact. So checking back in on how we're doing on those equilibriums, we can tick these guys up a couple of times. 57 is fine. Getting them happier, getting our finances back on track a little bit. Nobility's up to a 37, clergy's up to a 44. Clergy's going to cross that equilibrium to get towards 50 here relatively soon. And back on, this is 3.5 years now, 3.5 years in, and we are looking at nobility up to 44%. Clergy's up to 26%, but like I said, the clergy's about to be under control and go away. And the nobility is not that far off. So it feels like we're going to have this under control as long as we don't get any massive stability hits. If we can avoid those events, which so far we have had none but the initial start of the event. Research, done. Invest in culture. Now we've got disloyal subjects as things stand, but they're all really close to being loyal. 50%'s loyal. And the lowest one there is the Makita, which they hate us anyway. And it's not like we get anything from them necessarily. What we're getting is the trade, the 1/3 trade, and we're still getting that. Yeah, we're still getting a third of their trade. Like in the Karakari here, we have our own influence in that market, our own trade advantage. But if you look at what they have with 85, half of that, or 1/3, right? They get 2/3, we get a third. So half of what they have would be 42.5, 43, and then we have 50. So we have a little additional that we've got. Another research or exploration done. And as this is recovering, let's go ahead and explore here. Get back to 2. Oh, I forgot to restore your project, which I'm going to keep these guys separate. I'm not going to have them, but that reminds me, our Brazil Maritime one. So we get a wave of immigration. A colony getting a little boost. They've recovered up to here. They're at a 64, gaining a 0.65 locally through there, but not even gaining here. That's just neutral. Jerry Batuba. There we go. Okay, so adding 4. All from New World Construction. Oh boy, here we go. The burgers, they're at 57. We can afford for the burgers to take a drop and make the nobility happy in the short term, which actually makes all 3 of them upset, but for the moment that puts the nobility up to a 48%, which means they're going to gain really slow for a little while at least on there. It's not going to stop because they're not above 50, but they'll gain very slowly towards the rebellion, and the burgers will very quickly go back to there. Come on, that was like what, 6th, 7th event, and we're like 4 years and a month into our run. They are a little too frequent here, especially when stability is now positive, but states are still negative. So I suppose there is that. We can move towards absolutism and lose some army tradition and manpower. You know what? That's a trade-off that I think is worth it for now. Well, it looks like nobody else can get up there but us. And then, of course, you have these 2. I'd rather fill these 2 in first. Makes more sense to get them done. But again, I don't need to have 5 colonies at the same time, especially when we're not making a ton of money. So we'll wait for the next one to finish. But we basically have 1 to 2 more colonies here, 1 to 2 more there, and then Brazil is done. More research. Stone output is done. That current little tree we're working on, there was a couple things kind of in the way of the good ones below it. Stone output's not bad, but it's not great either. It wasn't anything that we were overly concerned about. There we go. Now the next colony is done. And as that cuts us down to 3, now we can worry about going inside. So looks like there's still a race for what we have right here. but we've now effectively cut them off. This area is now safe. Okay, we've hit the point where it's been too long since we called Parliament, and now they are going to be upset. We need to take kind of the easiest thing we can get, like paved road network at 28%. And it looks like it's got a chance to pass without doing anything at all. So there you go. Definitely longer gaps in between on taking care of this, but we've got this situation, right? We're into the 5th year, so we're approaching a quarter of the way through, assuming that it will take all 20 years to illuminate, as we don't have the means. The burgers are back to 50%, so we're back to 2 happy estates, and the clergy's getting closer, 44. The nobility, 43, but they're still dropping. That equilibrium still just at 38. So that's the bigger worry, bigger concern, and in the short term, long term, is the nobility. But again, if we only have one estate wanting to rebel, we dealt with it just fine last time. It really wasn't a major obstacle. And we're back to, we can probably take another tick on these guys. All those kids that we're paying 50 ducats a month for, I mean, that's part of our cost of court. A lot of them are going to age out of that fairly soon. The older kids, the first like 3 of them, back to back to back, they'll be adults, I think, relatively soon anyway. But while we are debating the issue, paved road cost is down 20% and road build time's down 20%, so now's a really good time to do some road building out of Lisboa. You can see how we've kind of made our way through this area. If we make our way up to Coimbra, 575 ducats. Yeah, that's probably a good one. That's going to increase control a fair bit. So we'll take that and build that road. And Faro's only 570. Though I think Faro may have better proximity cost through Maritime. Same with Porto. Elvas. Well, that's still just a location. It's not even a town. That's a location, not a town. That's a location, not a town. Viso is only an additional 287 because of the Coimbra thing. It's only adding a couple provinces. Why don't we do that? Looking back on how is control. 96. 77. We're going to get these guys have 63, 66. It's going to bring them up a fair bit. But yeah, you can see how Porto's got a 90. Faro's got an 84. So yeah, I think it does make sense. We're going the right direction with still treating those as port first. Random negative event, minus stability, minus support, or we lose 10 prestige. Goodbye prestige. Remember, we're at 50.04, so we don't have any spare, and we definitely don't have spare stability. But now that this is maxed out, how are we doing? 0.6. 0.6 is what they're offering now with 20 ships. Looking at that maritime presence, we now have a fairly decent number across all of these areas. 61, 62% up here, 85% here. This area is looking really good. 88, 93, 96. So we definitely have a much better maritime presence now. And here as well, for that matter. I mean, we were pretty low here. Now it's up to a 78. So proximity to capital. You can see how you've got a little bit of a bonus along here. And we have a little bit of a bonus along here. Not much. Overall, control is still a lot higher than it was. 19, 16, 12. This was at 1, now it's at 3. It's just inched its way, but we will invest in that region once again, and I'm assuming it's nothing over here. Yeah, we're not getting any taxes out of that area, but it's this is more about having a foothold for exploration through all of this area. And we're going to get a foothold down here to explore through this area. And we have a foothold here to explore through this area. So more and more we are getting the known world, but ways to go yet, huh? Ways to go. We got a trade-off here, good, bad, and we can make the nobility happy and the clergy really unhappy. Or we can make the clergy happy, gain stability, and make the nobility a little bit less unhappy. But they are ahead of their mark right now anyway, by almost 5%. So actually that's a decent trade-off. Kind of pushes them towards equilibrium while making the clergy happy enough to end issues with the clergy more stability, which we can then turn into another uptick on these guys past October. So it now has been a full 5 years. Positive event. Legitimacy is maxed out, so there's our prestige coming back to the 14. The prestige we lost has been recovered. No map to steal from Aragon. No tech to steal, as we need a 75. It's at 69, but we can steal a map from the Ottomans again. All or most of these 4 areas are right here. We'll take that one first. That's a nice, very big reveal, and oh my goodness, the Ottomans. No idea how they are colonizing so fast. But look how close we are. So we are slightly weaker than them, but it actually has us militarily a little bit ahead. Their economy is a little bit ahead of ours. Their pop is a little bit ahead, but we're catching them. We were 500,000 behind. Now we're 350. So we are gaining on them. And our Navy's way ahead of them now. Not sure how we're still weaker. What, because their economy is slightly ahead of us? Their manpower is well ahead of us? They have no standing army right now. Their war with Tunis has not gone well. I would love to do the plan and take some of this. Especially with cutting them off, right? You gotta kind of direct it around cutting them off. Add some to La Plata. But that's a lot of territory. You're not going to get that in one war. But like Jacqueline, they can't expand anymore. They are now cut off. That passed. There we go. That passed. We barely made it, but we get a bigger move towards centralization. La Plata. Okay, National Assemblies. Change policy cost. It's a government reform. That becomes available. It's not a new law, it's a government reform. Just the nobility now upset. Look at that. Falklands, 49.97. Karakinka, 49.84. Like they're all right there. They're so close. By the way, the other couple of event things that have popped up is the Columbian Exchange, where you can actually alter what goods you have in some of your provinces a little bit by bringing. It just resets your RGO to kind of nothing. So if you have a nothing province, you might be able to swap it out to do something like growing corn. The Golden Age of Piracy also, you can create a subject pirate nation. Of course, Reformation, War of Religion still going on. That Catholic League has grown quite a bit. The Protestant Union is a little smaller than it was. But Bohemia has been added back into it, so the scale has actually increased. And the Lutherans now have 25 million, but the Catholics have grown to 119. So we've added about 3 million and 6 million. Whoa, the Fronde? And we are perfectly balanced with them. France has split in two. Oh my goodness. I guess if we're talking French, that would be like the Fronde. Oh, suddenly we're much weaker. That's a new thing. It's scaling really quick. They are two nations and they're still both stronger than us. We're back to 2 unhappy estates clergy back below the 50% mark, but their equilibrium is now 45, so they are getting closer and closer. Where it was a 29, as the stability has flipped from a minus 27 to a positive 27 since the event had triggered. We're up to a 39 flat, so 10% gain. Another 10% to go. It's a long ways to go yet with the nobility. And here we go. Research theater building is available. It comes with unrest and cultural tradition. That unrest could be really helpful with the current situation regarding the nobility. Like in Lisboa specifically, what we have satisfaction-wise there, the nobles are actually still happy in Lisbon, still happy in the capital. They're not a problem. There's 5,000 of them there. They'd be a real problem if they were unhappy, but we have enough going on in Lisbon to make them happy. We have 45,000 Calvinist peasants in Lisboa. They're not as happy, but at 71%, they're still not a problem. You'll look a little bit further out, and like Faro, not the case. The nobles in Faro are very much not happy. So if I add a theater here, what would that do? In fact, none of them are particularly happy. So I'm going to start with Faro and see if we can make a theater. I don't know what... It's not clergy or clerics. It shouldn't be clerics. There's another example, and their nobles are upset. Exploration here, and I'm going to start exploring up this other side a little bit. Clean this up at least Central America wise before we head up and get the last little bit of the Atlantic coastline. It's still one of those you can probably steal it off of Aragon possibilities. I think I had... No, I did not get tech recently. 6 years. 6 years down, and the nobility at 62%, but definitely a slower increase month by month. But definitely still increasing. The clergy almost level now at 34%. Like I said, we got them above 50% there for a little bit, but they're increasing very slowly now, and their equilibrium back to a 45. Here's the next negative event, though. As the next month triggers, rebellion must be crushed. Move towards absolutism. Bermuda. Yeah, we'll take that. Right now, absolutism is up to a 30. Giving us a crown power boost of 30%. So if we go back in and look at our estates, we're up to 43% crown power. The nobility now it's only a 39 stability cost to revoke something from the nobility, revoke their power, increasing our power, which is fantastic. But right now we can, that's another one in Brazil, and that means we can actually, well, hello, so that's all closed off. We ended up getting all 3 of those. And those are the last 2 filling in, so yeah, we're almost done with that area completely, and that means we can actually go ahead and start pushing into this area. Granada's actually losing pops as I'm pulling all of our colonies out of... Well, shoot, there's the next one too. I think I want to help speed things up here. La Plata, for one, is colonizing down here, getting in Caraquinca's way. Well, hello. A coalition has been started by Shoklang. Check it back in. Who doesn't like us? Shoklang is near the top of that list. Miranda, which is the other Ottoman one, they're probably going to join with them. But then it's Maikita, a couple that are barely at 40, and then Somalia. Somalia, though, if they want to join, they absolutely could join. They are 46th on power. We're 32nd. I think it's about time we then make our subject here happy. Improve opinion. We've never done that. They still have a minus 82. The reason why these guys don't like us is we've stolen, what, four maps or so in the area. And then there's the added of a little bit of general border antagonism with each other. But art's cool. Building is unlocked, and that's it for our tier 2 stuff for now. So let's make another run at the tier 3 queue. We got through that tier 2 queue pretty fast. And with that whole tree done, there's suddenly only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're down to less than 10 research items in tier 2. But moving back into tier 3 for now and getting another queue through there. The regular caravel does give a 0.20 for maritime presence. That's what's improved. And this icon is helping me with that. Okay, so it's the square rig caravel is just a little bit faster movement speed wise than the regular caravel, but it does push maritime presence to a 0.2 where we have a 0.14 right now. So you upgrade all of our current light ships, and suddenly we've got a pretty healthy boost to a maritime presence score. But the square rig doesn't do anything with that, so let's go ahead and take the caravel upgrade. That movement speed, it's not a combat ship. Movement speed's not going to help me. Peasant estate satisfaction equilibrium certainly has its perks, especially here and now. There's a whole tree that we haven't really gotten into. Let me come back to that one in a minute. That's larger supply convoys, which would be an upgrade to the regular convoy. Merchant quarters, good for trade advantage, trade capacity. Small increase to the burgers, though. It's the next tier of the marketplace. Okay. We should probably get that one. It's actually only 3 things queued up at the moment. Which kind of brings me down into this little tree here. What do we got? Cultural influence. Still haven't quite figured out how that cultural influence works. Kind of grand scale. But a paper workshop. Books output, though. That's a handy one. Let's take that. Clergy estate equilibrium and efficiency of our cabinet. Burgers, navy, dynamic. Well, hello. Taking power away from the nobles, clergy, and burgers without hurting their satisfaction. It would make us less efficient for our legislation, but it also moves us towards centralization. That's crown power for us. That's a lot of crown power for us. The legislative efficiency, though, I mean, what's your trade-off on that? It's how quickly we can implement laws, government reforms, and estate privileges. Time, I'm not too worried about time. That's handy. We need this cabinet laws. A weapon workshop. Naval supplies workshop. Those are both important. So we'll finish off those portions of the tree. There you go. That's 8 research items in the queue, and as this has not fixed itself yet, that School of First Letters, there's that 5% bonus that we picked up, and that clergy estate satisfaction, instead of 12% negative, is down to 1.3, or up to 2.15 on that research progress. Definitely trending the right direction. And we can steal technology here from Aragon once again. Get a head start on that next one. Intercolonial trade. Oh my gosh, it's kind of a positive event. We can move towards mercantilism or towards free trade. The mercantilism, I think, was the one that I prefer. Yeah, suddenly we're down to just 4 nations that have high antagonism towards us. So far we are handling this disaster of ours pretty well. Rio has 7,000. They have grown quickly. Time to become a town. And to be the center of commerce for us in this Zhoukling market. Another event kicking off. It's January 1st, 1645, and the Little Ice Age has begun. Recent years have hosted a series of winters far harsher than usual. Crop failure, starvation, and the encroaching cold have made life in the Kingdom of Portugal a challenge. Winters will last longer and food supplies will suffer, as famines and shortages will likely appear during this period. I don't think too much of that's going to impact us, but the caravel is ready. We have navies with ships that need to be upgraded. The regular caravel, you're not going to let me upgrade to it? You don't think it's an upgrade because the Iberian version has other bonuses? Oh, the Ottomans. Yay, we're going to steal another map even though there's antagonism and Zhoukling don't like us. I don't care that they don't like us. Eventually we want to... There are 77 total locations impacted by this Little Ice Age right now. 2 are cities, 11 are towns, the rest are rural settlements, but none of them are ours or are starving. Now, maybe that's our locations affected. Could be. We do have 2 cities technically, as I need to replace a naval commander here. It looks like it. We are facing a winter, and yes, well, mild winter. Looks like we are losing food at the moment in our capital. So yeah, maybe just maybe. Cabinet member just died. Anyway, there's nothing we can do currently, so it's not impacting us. England is offering an alliance. Now, they are not as strong as they once were. America is still a colonial nation of England. Canada's not tied to England anymore, so they've definitely lost a little bit of strength. But England, they've lost ground to France. Are they going to want me to go to war with France? By the way, there's a big change in who owns what here, but France has not been reunited. This could be tricky, but you could always just say no. We also have measles. Little outbreak. Lots of fun things happen right now as we approach 4 million in pops. We're back to 8,000 ducats, so financially we're getting back into a better state. And one last check at the 7.5 year mark. 45.95 for the clergy, 39.62, almost back to the 40 on that threshold. We're actually finding a way to climb through all of this. We're up to 31st now. This is the highest ranking we've ever had. We've been 32nd a number of times. We've never been 31st. We've never been top 30. So despite everything happening right now, somehow we are growing in stature. We are growing in most every way, and we're had a disaster that took forever to get cleared, and we finally got cleared of it, and then we go almost right away into a new disaster. No fun on that part, but I'd like to get our first look at how institutions are coming along. Lisboa seems to be doing well. It's already picked up one of them. Manufactories is at 50% and growing quickly. We've already had 2, the military revolution and the scientific revolution. So scientific revolution is now in 16%, and we're at 9% for the military revolution. I'm assuming that's military revolution's only in Lisboa. Yeah. Scientific revolution is definitely spreading faster and in a number of locations already. So this has the scientific and the military. Okay. Yeah, some of our cities are gaining things pretty quickly on that part, and then they constitute a fairly good portion of your population. That's scientific revolution already in Granada. Well, that's nice to see. We are making some rapid progress with that. We should be able to embrace those. But what's that trade-off with embracing an institution? Finances. Oh yeah, no problem. We have that. Stability. We do not have that in large quantities, as we're getting this 25% hit with this silly disaster that, well, I mean, we're at 7.5 years. We're more than a third of the way done with it. It'll end eventually. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that 10-year mark because we're not meeting any of the requirements. We need to get to 60% power. We're at 43. We need to revoke a bunch of privileges. Well, that costs stability. Difficult trade-off. We need to get above that 50%, and I just don't see that happening unless we gave them more privileges. And that just does not sound smart right now. And I don't want to revoke any of the others while the nobility has the most power. You got to revoke from the nobility. We could bribe them. Close to 2,000 ducats. That would give 10% satisfaction. But the problem is that's going to fade, right? That 10% goes away. Now, they would turn around and spend that money. They would invest into new things. So it's not a bad thing to bribe them. But it wouldn't put them above 50. And it would be very temporary. So I think if we can get up to about 42, 43, 44, if they're getting close, rebellion-wise, it's at 74. And not going away just yet. It's still increasing. So that's a good way to stop outbreak of war, the bribery. There's only 7,000 of them, but it would be a decently powerful 7,000. That 10%, yeah, we're close to that having the necessary impact to stop it from growing and see it decline a little bit, stop them from being on that edge as we kind of finish off the last one, because the bribery is just ducats. It's just ducats. But right now it won't do any good. It would put them at 49. So it would stop them from growing for a while. But it would still come back down. We wait a little bit, get it to about a 42, then you push it to a 52, then it actually will decline a little bit, and then stop growing for a little bit, and then only slowly grow. So we'll wait that a little bit longer. And we might only have to do it once to get through this, kind of the rest of the way. And by the time you get through that, at almost 46% now, yeah, we're close to being okay. But those negative events have slowed. If they pick up again, you never know, right? We've had a couple pretty bad ones, and the others haven't been that big of a deal. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.